All right. Hi, everyone. Can you all see and hear me? All right, perfect. Well, um, we don't really have much on the docket for today. On Brightspace, I've called this a wrap up and discussion lecture, but really, um, I guess we can take it as an opportunity to reflect on what we've learned about, or discuss anything that you're still not really clear about, um, either with regard to what we've been learning or perhaps with regard to the final paper. I will say something just to get it out of the way, and that is that we should have those essay proposals all graded and have those grades returned to you for tomorrow, some point tomorrow. We're very nearly finished. And then you'll have from then until the last day of the exam period to complete the essay. And keep in mind, right, the essay is really not that long. I think I've set the limit somewhere around 1,200 words, but that's not much. Um, so it's a very short essay. You can go longer than 1,200 if you want, but don't go under that. And of course, that's the body of the essay, not, your references section and your student and course information. Just like, the intro, the body, the conclusion. That's the word count. Um, and once you have our feedback, you should be able to take your proposal and turn it into the start of your paper. So anywhere like from the first paragraph to, depending on how much you have in your proposal, from the first paragraph to possibly up to the first third of your paper. Well, don't go crazy, Khalid and Caleb. Yeah, you won't have marks deducted if you go over the limit, but I don't want to read any like 2,000 word essays. The reason that we've set the essays length the way we have is because there are a lot of essays to grade. Um, so please don't go crazy. You can go like, 1,500, 1,600 maybe, but don't go nuts. Yeah, don't pull a Caleb and write 4,000 words. Look, you have other things that you need to do too, right? You have to prepare for your other final exams. So, no, there's no template, Yusuf, but if you take your proposal, like the feedback we've applied, take that, rewrite the proposal so that it doesn't sound like a proposal. You want to include if we've made any suggested edits, you want to make sure you take care of that stuff. Um, if any suggested changes, take care of that stuff. But you want to rewrite the proposal so that the language is less proposal like. So, instead of, I propose to write an essay on rationalism versus empiricism. Say, this essay concerns the debate between rationalism and empiricism, right? Like, make it sound like, the language shouldn't be reflective of something that you're going to do, but something you are doing. So you don't, so that's why there's not a template, right? Because you can take your proposal and rewrite it such that it forms the start of your essay. Okay. Um, I'm not sure how many people are watching who we've contacted about proof of work, but um, you know, keep in mind that you do have to submit proof of work for the essay, um, just as you had to do for the proposal. And if you didn't submit proof of work for the proposal, you still have the opportunity to do it. If you just forgot and you want to send me your drafts, send them. And, we can, if this is if you've heard from us. No, not yet, Samir. Tomorrow. Um, so where was I? If you're one of those if you're one of the students who we've contacted who hasn't submitted proof of work, you can still do that. Um, if you don't have any proof of work, um, I'm not really sure what to tell you. I mean, the requirement for proof of work for both the proposal and the essay was laid out quite clearly multiple times. Um, so if you have something, if you've been contacted and you have something you can send me or the TAs as proof of work, do it. If not, um, I'm sorry, but this was clearly outlined in the instructions. Again, multiple times. Um, yeah, two or three, Yusuf. Two or three drafts in addition to the final draft. Always remember that we're getting you to do the draft so that we can see the incremental progress you have made on the assignment. So maybe the first draft could be the rewritten proposal, rewritten as the start of your essay. And then every day you write a little bit more. And, that can be the basis of some of your other drafts. Khalid's asking about the tone. Yeah, the tone should be formal. I mean, I don't mind when people include personal remarks, but you've really got to make sure that they actually do something for you. Um, I wouldn't use them as evidence, but they could be used for illustrative purposes. Um, there's also something to be said for storytelling. So if you're trying to use a narrative sort of slant, you could connect with the reader using, I don't know, like a personal remark or a personal anecdote of some kind if it's appropriate. Um, yeah, there will be a separate Dropbox for the essay. And I will have that set up probably by the end of the week or the beginning of next week. The guidelines have already been given. So, if you're stuck, right, if you forget something, refer to the essay writing lecture, which is recorded and it's been posted on my YouTube channel. There's a link to it in one of the Brightspace modules. Um, in fact, I would say refresh yourself. You should probably, before you start working on your paper, just go and rewatch that lecture. And that's going to have all of the instructions. There are also instructions in the slides for that lecture. Um, does each draft have to be the full essay written? No, no. Draft one might be I don't know, the first third of your paper. Draft two might be two-thirds of the paper. Draft three might be all of the paper minus the final edits, and then the final draft will be like the polished version. That's acceptable. Um, some people write their essays all in one shot. Right? They sit down and spend the afternoon and they bang out 1,200 words, and then they come back and they edit it, leave it for a bit, come back, edit it again, rewrite some stuff. That's also fine. Yeah. There's lots of different ways to do this. So, and different people have different writing processes. And that will be reflected in the drafts that we see. But the important thing is that the drafts just indicate your progress. Um, again, Khalid, it doesn't. There's no single answer to this. The drafts should just have to sort of capture the progress you're making as you work on it, like snapshots, right? So, um, I mean, I don't want to see drafts that don't deviate at all, because that would be a red flag. But um, Whatever you submit should give us these snapshots of the progress that you've made on the assignment. Could I use my final draft and just add on to it? Um, well, you can't just add on to the proposal. You need to rewrite the proposal. Otherwise, it won't sound right, right? It's like I said earlier, the proposal should be rewritten so that it turns into the start of your essay. Mm. And then, maybe that could be your first draft for your final paper. Does that make sense? And remember, I'll also be keeping like an open door policy over the exam period, which means I will try and answer emails as quickly as possible. I'm a little bit slow at answering emails right now because it's the end of the term and I'm just absolutely busy, as I imagine all of you are as well. Um, but this is the last day that I am teaching this term, and tomorrow is the last day of classes. I am traveling on Saturday, so I'll be a bit hard to get a hold of on Saturday. But then again, I usually don't respond to emails very quickly over the weekend unless it's urgent anyway. However, going forward over the exam period, I'll be checking my email multiple times a day in case there are any questions, in case anyone reaches out to me via email. Um, and I'll be available for meetings. So if you're really, really stuck, you're writing your essay and you just hit a wall and you need to pick my brain about something, maybe some ideas. Um, maybe you need to talk about some of the subject matter that you're writing about, whatever. If you get stuck in any way and you really need a hand, you can reach out to me and we can arrange a Zoom meeting. One thing that I don't do as a matter of principle, I guess, is uh, read drafts before they're submitted for the final. So sometimes I get people reaching out to me like, "Can you read my essay?" Um, I mean, that's what the proposals were for. And I don't really think it would be fair if I read certain people's essays and then I didn't read everyone else's before they submit. Um, but there are services you can take advantage of, like writing services. So if you're worried about the writing and you want to have somebody look over your essay to make sure that you've got a formal tone, to make sure that you're citing things correctly, to make sure that the spelling and the grammar and the sentence structure is good, then you can go to writing services. I believe they're located in the library. Although you can find this information on the internet. So don't take my word for where they are because I actually don't know, but I think they're in the library. But you can drop by and you can have somebody read over a section of your paper and they will help you with the writing. So yeah, I don't read the drafts and assist with the actual writing process, but there are services at the university you can take advantage of in order to get that sort of help if you need it. So I've answered this question, I think two or three times already today, and the last lecture as well, and the essay writing lecture itself. Yeah, sorry. I don't mean to be crusty. It's just I also don't want to have to repeat myself too much. All of this has been covered. Uh, what was I going to say? I had something else that was important to mention, but now it slipped my mind. Maybe it'll come back to me. Oh, well, I guess this wasn't it, but something I mentioned during the essay writing lecture that I think you should uh, remember is an option. Oh, goodness, it's so noisy here. You can proofread one another's work. Um, think of it like peer review, right? When people like me publish work, it goes through peer review. So I submit something to a journal. Um, a bunch of other people read it. I don't know who they are, but they read it um, and point out problems, things like that, and then you revise. Um, no, Khalid, I think it's actually okay to do this. But here's what I want you to do, right? If you read over someone else's paper and they read yours, I want you to acknowledge each other. Just a little footnote, I would like to thank my fellow student so and so for assisting me with the proofreading process or something like that, right? Just acknowledge it, and that's fine. And yeah, like Yusuf says, you can't get people to write for you, but you can get people to look at your work and give you tips. And that's a sort of like peer review. Of course, it won't be anonymous like it is when professors do it. Um, but it is something that I think is helpful. So that's something you could do, and you can use the Discord server to find people who might be willing to do that. You you look over my paper and I'll look over yours, sort of thing. Now, hmm, are there any other questions about the final essay? Okay, then I wonder if there's any questions about anything else. Hmm, I guess not. Well, I'm a bit at a loss of what to talk about. Well, I'm going to try and get those done as quick as possible, Isaac. Of course, the quiz is still open until Friday. And as I said in the recorded lecture, this one is a little bit different than before, but I've also given you way more time to complete it. So it's just short answer questions, but you've got like 2 hours once you start it. And once it's all done, we'll get right to work evaluating those quizzes. And yeah, you'll receive those marks some point over the exam period, definitely before the end of the exam period. Yeah. What else? What else? What else? Well, I don't know. Oh, here we go. Are the questions yeah, yeah, they're the same kind of idea. Like give me 1 to 2 paragraphs. Each one's worth up to 6 points. And it's all broken down. It's open book again. So, um, oh, Galen, yeah, have you already completed it? It is. It's like one question per chapter kind of thing. Very simple. And it's open book. So you can refer to the book, you can refer to your notes, you can refer to the lecture slides. The only thing you can't really do is copy and paste from anywhere. Obviously, no search engines, no generative AI. Um, But otherwise, yeah, pretty straightforward. One question per chapter for everything that we've covered since quiz two. And the questions are pretty open-ended. Like, I'll ask you, like, tell me about, in this unit, we learned about three arguments for this thing. Pick one and tell me about it, and then tell me whether you agree or disagree and why, right? Yeah, yeah. Like I gave you lots of time. It's conceivable that you could write it and then go away and take a 15-minute coffee break and come back and still have lots of time to complete it. Um, but don't rush, now that you've got the extra time, don't rush, like really use the extra time and do your best. I mean, as I said, it's 2 hours, so you could work for 45 minutes, go and have a little coffee break and come back and continue. And the reason I did it that way is just because, we have covered so much material since the previous quiz that um, I thought that I would be missing. I wouldn't have the opportunity to quiz you on everything if I had the multiple choice and true false questions. So that's why it's just kind of like one somewhat open-ended question per chapter. Oh, okay. Well, that's all I have to say about the quiz, I think. What else can we talk about? Well, I guess what was Oh, no, I don't want to talk about me. I'm boring. Um, what about what was what was the most interesting thing that you learned? Maybe that would be fun to share. Sorry, my phone's going off here. Um, Tara's got a question actually. Can you recommend a book that is, from your perspective, required reading in philosophy? Oh boy, that's a tough one because there's a lot. I don't know. Like philosophy is interesting because it's so expansive. And I think it really depends on where your interests take you, right? And that's not to say that philosophy is subjective. It's not. Um, but yeah, like, well, Isaac, that's a great example, right? Like Stoicism. A lot of people are interested in Stoicism. Um, but it's not really what we're doing. This is mind, metaphysics, and epistemology. Stoicism is very much its own sort of thing within ancient philosophy. But if you want to learn about Stoicism, I think you should read primary sources. So if, for example, you have an interest in this stuff, you should check out Marcus Aurelius and Seneca. Those are probably where you want to start. You want to read some, yeah, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, right? Marcus Aurelius was an emperor, right? He ran the Roman Empire. Um, and his stoicism is kind of about staying sane in that world. um so that's a good place to start, right? And yeah, like Eliane says, you can find good reasonably good affordable translations at used bookstores. um but to get back to Tara's question, um um there is a collection which you could call the canon in Western philosophy, which includes thinkers like Plato and Aristotle, and then the works of well, there's medieval thinkers in there too, but that's a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. But um, it's definitely always a great idea to read at least some Plato and some Aristotle. As you get into the early modern period, I mean, Descartes' meditations and his discourses are huge. A lot of work subsequent to Descartes was a response to Descartes in some way. So, um, Spinoza's work, um, Leibniz, uh, then you start getting into the empiricist stuff. So Locke and Hume, kind of like the way, the stuff we've covered here. Read the primary sources of the little snippets that we've looked at here, I would say. But it's not like there's one book, right? But go where your interests take you and read those books. And of course, you can ask me if you want some recommendations. Um, what are my thoughts on Kant? I like it. Kant is tough. That's right. The recommended readings. So, if there's a chapter, where we talked about Hume, in the chapter on skepticism, um, read his treatise. Um, and again, you can find copies of these in used bookstores. They're a great place to find these sorts of things because people have them as textbooks and then they sit on people's shelves unread and they get rid of them. They end up at a used bookstore and now you can buy them for a reasonable price and you have this classic work on your bookshelf. But Kant, yeah. Well, as I mentioned in our lectures on Kant, um, I really like what he does um, in the first critique. So I don't know if I would characterize myself as a transcendental idealist. Um, but what Kant does there, how he kind of gives us this picture of this mind that structures our experiences of the world a priori, is quite cool. But it is a challenging read. Kant has other critiques, though. The second critique is the critique of practical wisdom, which deals with, um, well, morality, ethics, and so forth. And then there's the critique of judgment, the third critique, and that one's about aesthetics. But they're all really good. And they're all, if you stick with philosophy and you want to learn more about Kant, I mean, you've got to read them. Okay, yeah. I mean, you could, but it's tough. Like Kant is not the easiest read. And I'm not sure if I'm the one who has or will evaluate your proposal, Khalid. So I'm not really, but if I'm not sure how you're planning on using that. But if you're writing about deontological ethics, which is what Kant is known for, um, then sure. Another thing I'll say about sources for the essay is that um, is that the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy is a good source, and it's also, as I mentioned in the instructional video way back when, it's the only encyclopedia I will allow you to cite. Because encyclopedias generally are not actually scholarly sources. But the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy is written by philosophers and it's curated by philosophers. So it is a scholarly source. Oh, that's a good question. Isaac asks, if I could sit down and have a conversation with any philosopher discussing this class, who would it be and why? I don't know. I've always had this kind of weird you know, I won't call it a fantasy, but I've often thought like if there's one thinker I wouldn't mind sitting down and having a beer with, it would be William James. Um, I disagree with James on a lot, but I get the impression that he's the sort of thinker that I could have nonetheless had a very interesting conversation with in spite of our disagreements. Um, I mean, James just was like such a down to earth person, a family man, scholar, philosopher, and psychologist. Just very cool. Um, I think that would be neat. But really, I don't think I would turn down any of the thinkers. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't really like to hang out with Heidegger, um, on account of the political views. Um, but yeah, I mean, who knows? Mm, would be interesting to sit down with any number of the thinkers we've covered in this class. Well, I mean, which thinkers would you guys want to talk to? Actually, I think that's an interesting question. Actually, well, I'll start with Isaac. Isaac, who would you sit down and have a? Ah, I see what you did there, Nicholas. Mm, um, of course. Yeah, could my beliefs change? Of course. Of course they could. Um, thanks, Galen. Yeah, give him the what do you call it? That that Isaac would like to prevent Descartes from inventing the Cartesian plane. Yeah, Hannah, to answer your question, I I think that one of the great things about having a mind, this is something an old political science professor used to tell us, used to make this remark to us. One of the great things about having a mind is that you can change it. And it's okay to change your mind about things. I think people look, especially with, the internet and social media, people, if you change your mind about something, people are weird about it. They're like, oh, well, you used to believe this, but now you believe this. So, you know, you abandon your beliefs or you didn't stick to your principles or oh, screw you. Now you're not on the same side of the debate as I am. Rawr, right? But no, like, I mean, it's not a bad thing to change your mind. Yeah, Yusuf. I think I agree with you, Yusuf. I think um, intelligent, but more so, wise people can change their minds about things because and the reason I say that is because when you're doing philosophy or even when you're just going about everyday life, um, you need to be prepared to face the possibility that you're wrong, and it's okay to be wrong as long as you change your mind when you're confronted with um, new evidence. As for what beliefs will change, well, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Time will tell. Yeah, Tara, that's good. Yeah. And that's kind of how philosophy goes. I mean, I'll put this question to you, well, to everybody, but who feels so part one of it's a question in two parts. Part one, um, how, who feels like they've learned something? I mean, hopefully you've learned a lot of things. But yeah, yeah, definitely we've learned a lot. Now, who feels like they know less than they thought they knew when they started? Yeah. Yeah, Natalie, that's great. So the older you get, you realize you know less and realize how cool it is that there's more to learn. Yeah. So I'm happy that you've all learned lots. Um, my experience was very Socratic, I think, in the sense that the more I learned when I was an undergraduate and in graduate school and now, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. Um, and that's how philosophy goes. Um, yeah, like Yusuf, you, yeah, you know more. Maybe we could say you know more about uh, what questions to ask. Maybe we could say that. Yeah, Eliane, that's interesting too. Sometimes philosophy helps us to articulate things that we've been thinking about that we maybe can't put into words, right? Yeah, confusing your friends. Well, maybe like Socrates, you're leading them into a state of confusion so that you can then go from ignorance to knowledge, right? Um, mhm. But that's good, like Khalid says here, it is strange when um, you thought you knew something and now you're not so certain. Uh, don't forget this sort of experience or this sort of feeling or whatever. Um, remember this. Uh, I think that if you can kind of hang on to this, we'll call it the Socratic virtue, right? Socrates uh, was claimed to be the wisest of men, right? And he said that if I am wisest, it's only by this trifle that what I do not know, I do not think I do. Or sometimes it's given as I know that I do not know, right? Um, and philosophy does that. Philosophy makes you realize, you learn a lot, but as you're learning, you also learn how much you still don't know. Um, that's very important, especially in the age that we're living in now, where I think people, um, this is especially true on the internet and social media, but also traditional media as well, so television and so forth. But you will find a lot of people who um, have very superficial understandings of certain topics, who act as if they have a very deep understanding of everything. Um, you need to be able to recognize that, um, even within yourself, and philosophy can help you do that. So, I guess all this is to say, if you feel like you learned something, great. I'm so happy you learned something. If you feel more confused than ever, don't panic, because that's just how it goes when you study philosophy. So, who who among you is going to continue studying philosophy in some capacity or another? Do you think that you'll major in philosophy or minor in it, or maybe just take some more courses out of interest? Yeah, not Yusuf. Ah, thanks, Isaac. I'm really glad to hear that. Galen, do you not have room for electives? Maybe not. Sometimes it's tricky. So, okay. One more elective to fill. Sweet. Yeah, do another philosophy class if you can. Yeah, it's funny, a lot of people aren't actually first year students in this class. They're just taking it as an elective, but that's great. Oh, I was going to say, yeah, engineering. Yeah, not a lot of room for electives, but glad you're here. Well, that's great. And remember, it's not just about university courses. Now you have all of these. Oh, yeah. Oh, John Lee. That's right. Well, this is going to be fun. I've taught it once before, and I'm looking forward to teaching it again. I am making some changes this time around, but I think it's going to be a good course and a very important course. But remember, all of you, that you can continue studying philosophy in lots of different ways. Now you know of lots of different thinkers you can check out. So if you want to read about ancient philosophy, now you sort of have an idea where to go. If you want to learn about medieval philosophy, now you know the names and you can check them out. If you want to read more early modern stuff, you can do that. 20th century stuff. Um, we really have just barely scratched the surface in this course. Uh, but I think, now that you've got some exposure to this topic or to the range of topics that we've covered, you can kind of follow your own interests, right? And you don't necessarily have to do that in the classroom. Well, I can't really think of anything else. I'm struggling to say something, but I can't really think of anything else to say. So we can wrap it up if no one else has anything to say either. Yeah, that's what I feel like. I'll be honest. The end of the semester and all I'm doing is marking. I feel like Sisyphus rolling his boulder. And then I have to, yeah, I think about Camus' words. We have to imagine him happy, which is I was just having a conversation about this with a student in another one of my courses, but it's not always easy to imagine Sisyphus happy. But what else are you going to do? Are you going to be miserable about it? No. Oh, there's that noise again. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's quite loud. Anyway, now it's quieting down a bit. All right. Somebody rolling something heavy through the hallways here. I will say this. I hope next time I teach this, it's in person and not, um, at least if it's online, I hope I have time between classes because while it was fun to teach outside when the weather was good, it's not fun teaching in here when the weather is not good. But I guess that's all I really have for a little wrap up. No, I don't. I don't. You know what? I actually don't know which one that is. Phil 1550. What is that? Is that intro? Is that ancient? I'm not really sure. All I know is I don't teach it, or I haven't. Never say never. I suppose it's possible that I could teach it at some point in the future, but no, currently I don't teach that. Ah, ethics and social issues. Yeah, no, I don't. I don't teach that one. And I have never taught it, come to think of it. But I do some ethics. Like I said earlier in response to John's comment, I do ethics of AI, and I also teach moral psychology sometimes, which is really fun. Okay. No, I don't think I've met Claire. I think she's an instructor here, like a contract instructor, if I'm not mistaken. But I have not. I haven't met her. Oh, it's online. Okay. Yeah, that might be why. Hmm. Well, I just want to say again, this has been fun. Um, this is not the, I mean, it's not the hardest first year philosophy class, but it's not exactly an easy class given just how much we have to cover. But I think you should give yourselves um, a round of applause for making it through the class. Well, it's not completely through. You still have to write the essay and write your final quiz, but you've made it this far, and I think you should all be very proud of yourselves. And thank you all. I have to say that the discussion in this particular iteration of this course has been some of the best of all the times I've taught this class. Uh, you know, sometimes it's tough to get class discussion going. Not here, which is great. So thank you all for a great term and for being great students. Glad you were all here. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Eliane. Thanks, Mai, Galen. Yeah, that ship. Keep thinking about it. And you know what? You can stay on the Discord server. We can still talk philosophy. You can hang out on the YouTube comment section, right? Um, because I'm still going to be teaching. I'm still going to be using the YouTube channel and the Discord server. So, yeah, if you ever want to talk philosophy over a game of chess or something, I'm bad at chess, but uh, you know, hang around. You can stick around. Yeah, and you guys have a nice winter break too. You deserve it. I'll tell you, I am really looking forward to a couple of weeks. Well, not off, but at least off from teaching. I'll still be marking and doing prep work, but I think we all deserve some much needed rest. So thank you, everybody. Yeah, thank you all. Thank you all. And so happy that you enjoyed the class. And maybe I'll see some of you in future courses that I teach. So it's been a pleasure, everyone. And have a good, safe, relaxing winter break. And I look forward to reading your essays. Remember to let me know if you need to talk to me at any point. Send me an email. Otherwise, it's been real. See you around, guys. Thank you. Okay. Bye for now, everyone.